Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good whatever it is. I'm finally back on, the regular here. I'm not bouncing around in an airplane at 35,000 feet or whatever. But, anyways, let's get into some zero trust and cyber stuff because, man, it's been a busy couple of weeks. Let's start with the elephant in the room, which is the Anthropic AI cyber powered thingy. Let's do some analysis on this here in particular. Okay, so this is the article from Anthropic. Let's kind of run through this and get a little bit of truth measurement. So, disrupting the first reported AI orchestrated cyber espionage campaign. All right, there's the report we could go into. This is kind of the abbreviated version. So, here's what they say. We recently argued that an inflection point had been reached in cybersecurity, a point at which AI models had become genuinely useful for cybersecurity operations, both for good and for ill. This was based on systematic evaluation, showing cyber capabilities doubling every 6 months. We'd also been tracking real world cyber attacks, observing how malicious actors were using AI capabilities. While we predicted these capabilities would continue to evolve, what has stood out to us is how quickly they have done so at scale. Well, that's because we have lots of AI companies peddling lots of AI stuff, and it's making it very commoditized. So, this is an AI company telling you that their AI is contributing to the AI-ness of all the hackery stuff. Anyway, in mid-September 2025, this is Anthropic, detected suspicious activity that later investigation determined to be a highly sophisticated espionage campaign. The attackers used AI's agentic capabilities to an unprecedented degree, using AI not just as an advisor, but to execute the attacks themselves. The threat actor, whom we assess with high confidence, was a Chinese state sponsored group. I have questions there about how they assess that, but let's just table that for now. Manipulated our Claude Code tool. They used Claude Code to, do the thing. That's what the manipulation was. But anyway, into attempting infiltration into roughly 30 global targets and succeeded in a small number of cases. That's where the problem lies. The operation targeted large tech companies, financial institutions, chemical manufacturing companies, and government agencies. We believe this is the first documented case of a large scale cyber attack executed without substantial human intervention. This is what the future looks like, folks. Upon detecting this activity, we immediately launched an investigation to understand its scope and nature. Well, that's nice of you. Over the following 10 days, as we mapped the severity and full extent of the operation, we banned accounts that were identified, notified affected entities, and coordinated with authorities. So good for you folks. This campaign has substantial implications for cybersecurity in the age of AI agents, which are run autonomously for long periods of time, that complete complex tasks largely independent of human intervention. Agents are valuable for everyday work and productivity, but in the wrong hands, they can do bad things, just like any other tool. A shovel can be used to dig an irrigation ditch or bash someone's skull in with it. These attacks are likely to only grow in their effectiveness. Yes, 100%. To keep pace with this rapidly advancing threat, we've expanded our detection capabilities and developed better classifiers to flag malicious activity. We're continually working on new methods of investigating and detecting large-scale distributed attacks like this. Let's see how it worked. The attack relied on several features of AI models that did not exist or were in much more nascent form. Okay, that's more fair. Intelligence models' general levels of capability have increased to the point they can follow complex instruction and understand context in ways that would make very sophisticated attacks possible. Sure. Not only that, but several of their well-developed specific skills, in particular coding, this is the agents themselves, lend themselves to being used in cyber attacks. So what they're saying is AI has made stuff smarter. We've all peddled ourselves into this. The market has made it even bigger, better, faster. It's a super area for growth. Therefore, their quote intelligence is getting better. And now agents are able to do things like coding and building these things on themselves, like vibe coding. Go look it up. Agency models can act as agents. That is, they can run in loops where they can take autonomous actions, chain together tasks, and make decisions with only minimal occasional human input. Yes, they're acting as agents and they are doing agentic things. Now, this is where the AI marketing BS creeps in. They're not autonomous fully and they're not thinking for themselves. They're just really good inference agents. Tools. Models have access to a wide variety of software tools, often via the open standard model context protocol. They can now search the web, retrieve data, perform many other actions that were previously the sole domain of human operators. In the case of cyber attacks, those tools might be password crackers, scanners, and other things. Okay, so here's a diagram. Phase one, human operator. provides the target to the Claude code operator. Phase 2, MCP servers are called to perform actions. So this is what they do. Recon 101. Findings are recorded and analyzed. The human reviews it. So there's a human in the loop, which is weird that that's kind of how this works. Phase 3, the bot directs an iterative vulnerability scan based on those findings. So again, we're still following the life cycle of how hackers have done what hackers have done for a long, long time. And eventually they exploit and they get a shell and they shovel the shell. And then finally, once they get in, what do? They move laterally and do the things and data exfiltration, et cetera. So that's how that worked. I'm not going to read through the whole rest of this stuff, but this is interesting in that we're finally getting to the stage of like, this is potentially where things get really sideways, and where we grow and go from here remains to be seen. Um, if you're listening to this and you're a small business or midsize or whatever else, and you haven't been getting serious about cybersecurity, now is the time. All right. So just back up and understand that whatever happened before is gone. Understand that now, right now, is the time, because the days of anyone out there not being affected by this stuff are over. It is going to become very, 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 very commoditized. It's going to become even easier to do, and it's going to become even more profitable. And as that happens, human nature from all of history tells us people will gravitate to this. If you're not aware, like, the global standard income level is about $14,000 US. Now imagine that you're some dude living in, whatever, some place over in God knows where, but you got internet. And all of a sudden someone comes up and says, would you like to make $100,000 US this year? Sure. What do I got to do? Well, you don't have to do anything really illegal, and the odds of you getting caught are almost zero. Help me develop a piece of malicious code that does X. You're going to jump all over that stuff. Now multiply that by all the people on the planet that don't make more than $14,000 a year. They're going to see this as an opportunity. It gets really, really big, really, really fast. And then your N factor is going to be the fact that anyone anywhere can do this stuff, and that we have leaked all these tools from people like Snowden and whatever that are NSA level. It is going to be a crazy, wild ride. So get into some space where you're doing something around security. If you're not doing it yourself, which you probably shouldn't be. I'm even setting up my own business. I'm not going to do my own security. I'm going to have someone else do it because I got other shit to do. Bring on a service provider and let them do this for you. You will be better off. So there's my advice. Okay, TechCrunch has got an article that I thought was interesting. Surveillance tech provider Prote was hacked. Its data stolen, its website defaced. The media was like, oh shit, who did this happen to in the US? Well, guess what? Prote is not a US company. A Russian telecom company that develops technology to allow phone and internet companies to conduct web surveillance and censorship was hacked, had its websites defaced, and had its data stolen from its servers. Founded in Russia, Prote makes telecommunication systems for phone and internet providers across dozens of countries, including Bahrain, Italy, Kazakhstan, Mexico, Pakistan, and much of Central Africa. The company, now headquartered in Jordan, sells video conferencing technology and internet connectivity solutions, as well as surveillance equipment and web filtering products such as deep packet inspection. It's not clear exactly when or how they were hacked, but a copy of the company's website saved on the Wayback Machine shows it was defaced on November 8th, so about 11 days ago. During the breach, hacker obtained the contents of Prote's web server, about 182 gigs of files, including emails dating back years. Now, I'm not going to tell you to do this, and I'm not even going to show you, well, you can kind of see it right here, but I'm just going to say, like, if you go to that site that I've kind of highlighted, click, 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 you are taking a risk on your own. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not saying that it's legal or not or whatever. I'm just saying if you do go to that site, you will find some very interesting information. I would be very, 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 very cautious about downloading anything not to your machine, like download it to a VM or something like that, that you don't mind getting blowed up or fucked up or whatever, because there's probably a whole lot of things you don't want running on your box there. So, um, I'm just telling you, wink, wink, that if you go to that site and start looking around, it will blow your mind, the stuff that you can get access to because it's been out there and shared with others. Uh, yes, so there you go. It's crazy what you see as you begin to look around with different things. Now, there's some stuff I'm going to look at on this particular podcast that I'm not going to share with you because it's very potentially risky, and I don't want to get blamed for bad things happening to people. And I'm not doing anything illegal, but it's getting kind of close to, threading the needle, if you will. But people need to know about this. Like, this is the stuff that we should understand and care about. Before I do that, let's look at a couple of other articles, though. This was very interesting from Eric Geller. This is on Cybersecurity Dive. In the financial sector, vendors lag behind customers on cybersecurity. Financial firms should be performing regular oversight of their vendors to avoid supply chain compromise, according to a new report, or also water is wet. Companies that supply financial organizations fare worse on cybersecurity than the organizations they're supplying, according to a BitSite report, which was published on Thursday. I'm guessing that's Thursday of last week because today's Wednesday. The security gap between financial services firms and their vendors highlights a major third-party risk in the financial sector, which generally outperforms other sectors. But it's still exposed to the failures of its suppliers, third-party risk. Financial services firms should perform rigorous diligence and monitoring, according to BitSite. Again, water wet. Here's the article itself. To assess the gap between financial service organizations and vendors, BitSite tested a range of companies, each from a group on 22 risk vectors, including spam blocking, ports, mobile application security, endpoint patching, and a bunch of other stuff. On 16 of the risk vectors, suppliers fared worse than their customers, with gaps as big as 15%. On web application security, TLS, HTTP headers were among the areas where suppliers performed worse compared with their customers. So essentially what they're saying is banks be better at security than vendors and third parties and contractors, which is totally understandable and not exactly news. But there's good that there's a report out there and that we have some data to back it up and those types of things. So yeah, it's an interesting report. I would go read it. Some of the stuff that they talk about here that is like big time vulnerabilities, whatever. It's probably more helpful for BitSite just to publish the report than some of the things that are super, super applicable in this particular one. But good research. Anyway, another article on Cybersecurity Dive, Nevada ransomware attack traced back to malware downloaded by employee. Well, wait a minute. Did the state of Nevada not mandate cybersecurity training and phishing training for their employees? How is this possible? How could a person possibly be tricked into downloading malicious stuff when they've had phishing training? Let's read so that we can understand here. The state refused to pay the ransom and recovered 90% of the impacted data. Okay, well, that's good. An August ransomware attack against the state of Nevada has been traced to a May intrusion when a state employee mistakenly downloaded a malware-laced tools from a spoofed website, according to a forensic report. And I got to look at this forensic report. We'll look at that in a second. State officials refused to submit to a ransom demand and recovered 90% of the impacted data over a 30-day-ish period. The state had insurance coverage and pre-negotiated vendor agreements, which factored into the decision not to pay a ransom. The threat actor deployed an attack aimed at taking state systems offline and left behind a note with instructions on how to recover the encrypted system. Ransomware attack. The attack impacted 60 agencies across Nevada in critical services like Health and Human Services, EMV, and Public Safety. The threat actor, whom the report did not identify, gained access to more than 26,400 files, and another 1,300 files were left exposed across multiple systems. The state incurred about $1.3 million in expenses related to recovery cost as they engaged folks like Mandiant, Dell, Microsoft, Dart, Palo Alto, Ares, and other firms. The state employee downloaded the tool on May 14th, which unleashed a hidden backdoor into the state's computer system and remained active until it was quarantined on June 26th. So that's a pretty long time before it got quarantined. How did that slide by for that long without something picking up on it? Symantec, what happened there? The hacker installed remote monitoring software on a number of standard and privileged accounts and used RDP to move across critical systems. Credentials from 26 accounts were stolen. So, I mean, honestly, here's the takeaway. One, phishing training is not a control. Again, for the 10 gabillionth time, use something else. Like a policy engine with browser isolation, this would not have happened. Just saying. Like, I don't know how many times we can prove it, but there you have it. On top of that, the real problem with compromise is not because somebody got in. It is the lateral movement that occurs afterwards. It is the privilege escalation. It is the installation of tools, all those things. And here's proof of just how bad that can be in a very simple format. Like about a month worth of time, bad guy got in, escalates privileges, moves laterally, installs monitoring software, RDPs, a bunch of stuff like that. Now, I would also question, wouldn't they have picked this up with some good analytics or, UEBA or things like that? Why did that slide by? There's a whole bunch of stuff that's wrong with this, but the basics of what should happen for cybersecurity are pretty clear. And people still sit around wondering, like, well, what's the proof? How do we know that this is the thing? There you have it. I mean, it is not rocket science to understand what needs to happen to, be better off. The record, which is recorded future, a bunch of good stuff. So National Cyber Director Sean Cairncross, who literally says, I don't know anything about cyber, but anyway, that's a different story. Now says national cyber strategy will focus on shaping adversary behavior. Okay. The Trump administration is moving quickly to release a new national cyber strategy, the White House's cyber czar said on Tuesday. Again, the guy that said he doesn't know anything about cyber. We are striving as an administration to make sure that there is a single coordinated strategy in this domain in a way that hasn't happened before. Okay. We are pressing to get things moving as quickly as we can. The Biden administration released a national strategy in 2023. It called for using regulation to augment the digital security of critical U.S. networks, which blah. Karen Cross did offer a rough outline, saying it would include 6 pillars, with one focused on shaping adversary behavior and another on public private partnerships, like we don't already have those. As a country, we have not done a terrific job of sending a signal to our adversaries that this behavior is not consequence free. We need to do that because it is scaling, it's becoming more aggressive every day, he told the audience. For instance, on ransomware, we've become good in a sort of fractured way of responding to things, but we've yet to come up with a government-wide long-term solution to put a dent in the criminal behavior. Yeah. As for working closer with industry, Karen Cross said his office is focused on modernizing the federal government. Good luck. Launching pilot programs to speed up technology procurement. And working with national labs to test run new innovations. Sure. Karen Cross also promised the eventual document would be brief, citing past remark that he wasn't going to be producing 100-page documents. Okay, whatever. It's going to be a short statement of intent and policy. Then it will be paired very quickly with action items and deliverables under that. I am not a fan of dropping things out of thin air on top of people, and that includes everyone that we work with throughout the government. So what we're doing right now is socializing this. We're getting feedback. Would you like feedback, bro? I will give you feedback. Please reach out to me. Speaking on a later panel, FBI Assistant Director Brett Leatherman said his agency has already seen the policy roadmap and contributed to it. He continued that ONCD's, that's the Office of the National Cyber Director, for those that don't know, intent to give cybersecurity experts a meaningful follow-up action really does rally the interagency around lines of effort. So budget is the last piece of this, as always. A lot of government agencies have unfunded mandates, and that is not helpful, said Walden, who is president of the Paladin Global Institute, who was also the former national cyber director under Joe Biden. Yes, I know that it's not the sexiest agency in the White House, but it's a very important, powerful agency. Yes, it's not sexy, I guess, but sure. This reeks to me of more posturing and government bullshit. And again, as I always say on this thing, like, I'm not a partisan person. I don't like the two-party system. I'm not a fan of any of the people that have been elected on either side, all the way through from state, local, way to the top. But this again seems to me like more stuff for the sake of stuff. Let's also talk about Cloudflare, because this was like the super new hotness of the day very recently. Let me share that again. Cloudflare outage on November 18th. So on 18 November, which was yesterday, and I noticed this because I was trying to do some stuff and shit wasn't working. Error page, and it showed up just like that. Yeah. And I like how, what can I do? Try again, fucker. The issue was not caused directly or indirectly by a cyber attack or malicious activity of any kind. Okay. Instead, it was triggered by a change to one of our database system's permissions, which caused the database to output multiple entries into a feature file used by our bot management system. The feature file, in turn, doubled in size. Okay. A larger than expected feature file was then propagated to all machines that make up our network. Yikes. That's like DDoSing yourself. The software running on the machines route traffic our network reads this feature file to keep our bot management system up to date with ever-changing threats. The software had a limit on the size of the feature file that was below its doubled size. That caused it to fail. After we initially wrongfully suspected the symptoms we were seeing were caused by a hyperscale DDoS attack, we figured out that we fucking did this to ourselves. We identified the core issue and were able to stop the propagation of the large file with an earlier version of the file. Core traffic resumed about 1430. We are sorry for the impact, whatever. There's a chart that shows it. Holy shit, that's a drop. Yeah. And then you go forward from there. So, I mean, I'll give Cloudflare credit on their response to this, and I hope that this is all that there is to it. But I would also kind of make me ask some questions about, like, how does this happen? And have we not learned at all, like, the crazy consolidation that's going on, and depending on a few pillars of the internet to make things work is not going to stand up in the case of things going sideways. I mean, CrowdStrike shut down the internet and shut down Delta Airlines. Cloudflare shut down the internet, shut down ChatGPT, Anthropic, and a bunch of other systems. The consolidation that's going on is problematic because when you have single pillars and one of them crashes, the whole house comes down on top of it. I'll give them props, like good job on fixing it and awesome people there doing their thing. But we have systemic issues here, and we keep hearing the words critical infrastructure. And I just read the whole thing about Carrying Cross and his, Machiavellian master plan for world domination or whatever. None of that shit's going to work because we have inherent flaws in this architecture that we've designed and built, and it's not good for the home team. So I hate to be the harbinger of bad news. Why am I? I'm always like the harbinger of bad news for some reason. I don't know. I just tell the truth, which is a problem for some people. Okay, now we're going into the part of the podcast where you have to listen to my voice or look at my misshapen head because I can't show you some of the sites that I'm going to go to because it would get you or me or whatever else potentially in trouble. And I don't like risking that. I don't look good in orange, and I don't want to have to deal with companies threatening me and whatever else. And my beard is getting a little bit out of control lately. I need to trim on the old beardo. But there's some other sites. If you go, all truth lies in Reddit, folks. If you're looking for actually like legitimate truth on things, go look in Reddit, go read through the threads. I'm looking at Reddit for OSINT, cybersecurity, etc. And I was doing a little bit of looking around on some of the new threat intelligence offerings. There's a site that somebody built, which is pretty hilarious, that you can literally enter a domain name, organization name, etc., and then it will tell you if there's a certificate out there that you could look for. So I don't know. I'm just going to pick one. I'm not going to tell you what I'm typing because that would be bad. Let's just see what it does if I do like this. Oh, wow. So, yeah. So if you want to look for a certificate, email address, organizational name, DNS, wow, IP address. Go look for the certificate of prayer. And then are they legitimate certificates? And then where would you get them from? Yeah. So literally run a query, get certificates back. Now, if you follow the logical path of how easy it is to find certificates through things like Shodan and other systems, what I would do if I were trying to cause problems, I shouldn't even say this out loud. I'm just saying, like, theoretically, conceptually, someone could maybe, if they were doing things, use some of these other systems, which I won't name, to find certificates in organizations that have issues, then run those through this other system and find the actual certificates. And you can imagine where things go from there. So, yikes. But it's there, and somebody coded this up. And what's funny too is when you look on Reddit where they coded this thing up, they literally say that they vibe coded this over the course of a few days. Yeah. Anyone else see the problem here? There's a couple of other interesting ones that would be valuable using. I wish I could say the names of some of these things, but it's very, very simple. If you DM me directly, I would maybe share some of this with you, but I was just looking for things that I could find through GitHub and GitLab and whatever else. And with a really simple query, looking for a basic file that I shouldn't find that's been hard coded into people's repositories. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them, and they're all available to me pretty much right here. And it's great because when people code and they think that they're putting this stuff in there correctly, they'll kind of leave stuff sloppily lying around. This sets the local administrator's account on whatever, I'm not going to say it, to a blank. And then there's the actual file. So they're giving it to me. Like, great, I could use this and log in right now. And I just typed it into that thing. And if I go look even deeper into code repos, go look for the main side of source. Holy shit. I mean, yeah, very easy to find this stuff that is hard coded into different systems. And you could just go bonkers with this one. Effortlessly search for code files and paths across 1 million GitHub repositories. Yikes. So there's that. This one is out there, and I'll tell you the name of it. It's dnsdumpster.com, which is funny. You just throw in your domain name, and then you do the thing and hit start test. It's only going to give you 50 results for a thing. And of course, they want you to pay for upscale, whatever else. But you can find some really good information about DNS. And there's a whole lot of valuable information on DNS for a particular resource. And it actually even gives you ability to download the spreadsheet that comes with it. And it will give you all of the architectural diagram, if you will, of that DNS query with an actual file. Yeah, so there's that one. If you're a red team person, like some of this stuff, you're like, man, why didn't we have this stuff back in the old days? And then there's another one that's out there that you could look up, and this is publicly available. It's pretty cool. It's called Threat Yeti. Threat Yeti, YETI, like Bigfoot. You just go in through there, throw in your information, URL, IP address, and hit bingo, and it will come up with a whole bunch of stuff. It'll give you threat intelligence information. It will give you score on it. It will tell you what factors are available for that thing. And there's a free and a pro and whatever, but I mean, this is pretty slick. You can get passive DNS records too. And yeah, you could do a lot of this stuff with Metasploit, but if you're lazy, like most folks, including myself, why not just do it through the internet and then have them do their thing and go on about your merry way? Yeah. So there, I gave you some insight on the Anthropic thing, some truth. Interesting. There's some stuff about new threat intelligence and other offerings that are out there. I wish I could tell you all the stuff that I use because it would blow your fucking mind. But anyway, and we still don't have really good government leadership in cyber, I would suggest. Not that they're not good people, not that they're not trying, kind of, but I don't really get that there's change coming here. I get there's lots of posturing and lots of words and lots of BS. Yeah. So, as always, stay smart, stay safe, stay secure if you can, and I will catch you on the next one.